Good day. I'm Christopher Lewis, and I've had a very long and rewarding career in corporate environments in Trinidad and Tobago, largely, also the Caribbean. And I thought it would be useful at this time to share some of those lessons learned with you. So I did a short video presentation summarizing my corporate career journey. To start off, when you embark on a corporate career, it takes up roughly a third of your life, depending on how long you stay in that environment. 8 hours a day for 20 odd years, 30 years. So it's quite a long time. So you need to ensure you really get value out of those years of service, that it's meaningful to you, not just in terms of work-wise, but also spiritually and in terms of family life and everything else. There's a good balance so that you can look back with those years with joy. So this summarizes basically my career in Trinidad and Tobago mainly. Also, I had a 6-year stint in St. Martin, working at various levels, but a lot of them were C-suite positions. So in high school, basically, I had no idea what I wanted to do. So I just know what I could not do well. I couldn't do the science as well. I was not very good at the mathematics in terms of hard maths and so. So the natural field of study for me was modern studies and languages. So post high school, after completing my education at secondary school, I needed a break and I entered the world of work, largely junior positions, but it was useful to introduce you into the world of work, working with colleagues, the office dynamics, and so on. So it was a good grounding. So I knew I had to go on to university because I was brought up in an environment where education was important. So not being able to afford foreign university at that time, the obvious choice for me was University of the West Indies in St. Augustine, where I completed a Bachelor of Science in Management Studies. After UE, I was lucky I got a job maybe within 1 month or 2 months, and it was a manager position. But I didn't stay there. I knew that I had to pursue my education. I was pushed by my brother to pursue an MBA program to separate myself or create a distinction from the many undergraduates with first degrees, which was very good advice in the end. I chose Northwestern based on its curriculum, and it also offered a 1-year program, which seemed compatible with what I wanted to do in terms of saving time, saving money, and as well getting a high quality education with a top ranked school. So when you do a foreign MBA, the number one thing is to overcome your fears. You have sometimes you may have a big fear of failure because you're in a foreign environment, you don't know very many people, you're not sure whether you will succeed. But the mere fact that you are there, enrolled in the foreign university, is an indication that you have the capability of success. So just follow your heart, study hard, do what you have to do and succeed because you've arrived. So you wouldn't have entered the school if they didn't think that you were qualified to complete the education. Focus on why you're there. Sure, you can have a good time, but you're not there to have a good time. You're there to get a degree. When you get a degree or during while you're getting your degree, you could have fun at the same time. Absorb the cultures because that's the enriching part of being in a foreign university. You're exposed to people from different environments, different cultures, and you can learn a lot from them. So there were several key lessons I learned at Kellogg. Number one is that what's written in a book is simply the opinion of the author of the book. And you need to form your own opinion based on your own research and your own studies. That's key, and that is very relevant in the internet age now. There's so many people are misled by conspiracy theories and so on. So we didn't have the internet in that scale at that time when I was at Kellogg, but it is still very relevant today. Second lesson is people are different, but they all have value. So you need to appreciate the differences. There's no right way or wrong way of doing something. The question is what's appropriate, what will work, what is the least cost method to give you the maximum return. And if you approach each problem with that type of approach, as opposed to a set formula from the past, I think it will serve you well in the future. Higher the risk, higher the expected return. So if an investment has a superlative return, you know the risk is also superlative to match the return that is expected. So depending on your risk appetite, You would know if you're a more cautious person or if you don't have money to burn, then you should choose a risk that is more within your risk profile. Don't worry about the financing if you have a business idea, because you just need to concentrate on the business idea. If it makes sense, the money will come, because money tends to follow money. So if someone sees that this business idea is really viable and worth something to you, then you will get the investment that you need. And then follow the data, the last point, because decisions should be data driven at all times. It should not be based on feelings, based on what you think is the best thing, but based on what the data is telling you. Now, when I came back to Trinidad after my Kellogg MBA, it was the height of recession. There weren't really jobs available at the time. I did some consulting with some friends. It was busy work, but I wasn't being paid because of the circumstances of the customers. But still, it was very useful and productive for me because I was using the skills which I learned in Kellogg. So even though there wasn't the monetary return for my efforts, I got a personal return in terms of my education, and that my skill sets was increasing. So my career, as I mentioned, ranged in all sectors: private, state, and family-owned business, banking, automotive, healthcare, food manufacturing, you name it, I've been in it. And what that has given me, it has given me a depth of knowledge and understanding of different industries and how they operate, what are the core metrics for the particular industry. And that has proven to me very useful. So each step of my career has been added on value to my whole entire knowledge base. And it's a question of acquiring the good practices everywhere you go. You may go to some places and it may not be the best, but there's still good practices that you can learn in even the most difficult of environments. So there are some, I'll call it 11 common lessons which I've learned from my career. And number one is that the key skill that you could have as a manager is people management. You need to know how to manage, how to motivate, how to encourage, how to build a team, how to achieve results through other people. If you can't do that, then I don't care how great you are technically, but you will not be as much value to the organization as someone who may be less technically qualified than you, but know how to get a team together to achieve the objectives of the organization. So that's key. Trust your instincts and seize the moment. Don't wait for 100% of data in order to make a decision, because life is not like that. Often we have to go with 80%, 70%. So we need to trust our instincts, follow the data threads, see where it's leading, and make a judgment call and act on it. You may make mistakes, but you just learn from the mistakes and you go on. The worst thing you can do sometimes in an organization is do nothing. Third, and this is a lesson which has been dear to my heart. If I'm bored, if I'm not fulfilled, I simply move on from the job, because I have a whole life ahead of me, and the best life in my mind is ahead of me, not what is in the past. So I'm not going to try to protect the investment I made in a particular job, or work that I've done in the past. I'm thinking of the work I can do in the future, and where should I be best positioned in order to achieve those objectives. So that is key. Loyalty must be first to your family and to yourself. And once you have that mantra in mind, you try to have compatibility between loyalty to your family and yourself and the company that you are at. But in the end, if there's a divergence, your family and yourself need to win out. Number 4, don't lower your standards for anybody. Keep raising them as you progress. You may go into a work environment where they may not have the best work ethic. That doesn't mean to say you lower your standard to match the ethics that you meet. No, you maintain a certain level of performance that could be compatible anywhere in the world, and you keep trying to raise your standard and lead by example to show other employees, other colleagues, or whoever you may be working with that this is the standard that I operate at, and this is the standard that you should operate at, and lead by example. So pick up the best practices, don't pick up the bad habits, because when you do that, they will stick with you and it will be to your detriment down the road in your career. The 5th lesson learned is that job titles are simply that, job titles. They don't pay the rent, they don't mean anything. What really matters is, what am I doing as a manager? What am I doing in the corporate world? What's my job function? How does the company How is the company better off because of what I do? And if you see that there is that compatibility between what you do and progress for the company, or that your worth to the company is increased because of a new job, it doesn't matter what the title is, you just do it, once you're comfortable and you're capable. Number 7, don't take crap from anyone. Stand your ground. You will be tested several times throughout your corporate career, and you will also be tested and challenged to lower your standards, to maybe lower your ethics and this sort of thing. But as you progress up the corporate ladder, it's very important that you set your standards and make it known to your peers, to your supervisors, to upper management, even up to the level of the board, because people need to understand, well, this gentleman, this lady, this is what this person stands for. And we need to understand that and work with them to achieve what we want to achieve. And it may involve training your boss, which may sound strange to some people, but it is very important to set boundaries for your supervisors so they know, okay, these are the boundaries that cannot be crossed. Within this environment, I can work very well. If you go outside that environment, we may have some problems. Number 8, don't have the answer before you determine what the problem is. That is so common. You wouldn't believe. People rush to solve problems and they don't really know what the problem is. They come up with solutions that sound good, that somebody has a feeling that this was done before and it worked in a different setting. It may not be relevant. It may not even address the problem that you're looking at the point in time. So focus on determining what the problem is. Do the necessary research. You may need to do surveys. It may take time. You may need to survey your customers, survey your staff, your members of staff, to understand exactly what is the problem I'm trying to solve. And then when you do your analysis, you have your data relevant to the nature of the problem. What you would find is that the answer or the solution to the problem presents itself because it comes very naturally arising from your detailed analysis of the problem. Number 9, a great idea could come from anywhere. Always keep that mind of yours open. Don't be prejudiced to say, well, okay, this person is junior to me, so therefore I won't listen to them because I have higher rank. That does not matter. I've gotten great ideas from janitorial staff, from security personnel, from junior staff, from senior staff, from the board. It doesn't matter where it comes from. A great idea is a great idea. It doesn't matter who's the bearer of the idea. So you have to keep your mind open and be willing to listen to everyone and what they may suggest to you. Number 10, don't meet for the sake of meeting. We tend to get sometimes what I call meeting situs. So we feel every time there's an issue, there's a problem, we need to call a meeting. The meeting lasts whole day. Total waste of time. From my experience, meetings shouldn't last longer than an hour. It has to be really special to go beyond an hour. Once you have enough preparation, discussion points, you have the communication from before, the meeting is just to pull things together and make sure everybody's on the same path. Outside of meetings, there's person-to-person chats, there's group sessions that you could do online. The technology is there now that a group could work on a particular document at the same time and share comments and this sort of thing. There's online meetings, there's WhatsApp in terms of electronic messages and this sort of thing. So technology is there to have that communication and have that degree of cooperation without having a physical meeting that lasts for an extended period of time. So I certainly recommend that you explore those options when they present themselves. And when you do have to meet, keep it tight, keep it cohesive, have an intent, have a result, and have an action plan arising out of the meeting. And the last point I'd like to make here is that compared to when I went to business school, 84, 85, we're now in 2021. We're living in a digital age. Entrepreneurship is very much an option that you should consider as either as an alternative to our corporate career as outlined, or in addition to our corporate career as outlined. One is not better than the other. Either can be pursued. It depends on what your interests are. compared to 1984, 95. It's a simpler path that you can follow in the digital age. People at this time, they are more concerned of what can you do for me? How can you add value to my life, to society's life? They're less concerned at who you are and what you're about and what your connections are. And that makes it easier now. You can set up a business very easily online compared to a brick and mortar and this sort of thing. You don't have the expense overhead. So you can work out as an entrepreneurial digital age solution to many problems that people may face from day to day, as opposed to traditional idea of a business. So in conclusion, I haven't had any regrets. I've made some good career decisions and I've made some not so good career decisions. But every time I moved from one place to the other, I expanded my knowledge base and I'm happy for the lessons I learned wherever I went. What I've learned too is that past solutions are often irrelevant or inappropriate to present day problems. How many times you have heard, oh, this is how we do it. We've always done it this way, but really, I don't care. It doesn't matter in 2021. You need to know what will solve a problem in 2021, not take something off the shelf from 1980 and think it will work in 2021. That is a wrong-headed approach that will lead to nowhere. Now, to do all of this too in the background as you advance your career, it's important that you manage your personal finances in a proper way so that it gives you flexibility to make career decisions as they may come up from time to time. Try not to be toxic, or say don't be toxic or harmful to others, because the positivity goes a long way in getting cooperation, getting motivation, getting progress. And if you're in a toxic environment, I would say that's an environment that you try to change the level of toxicity to reduce it or eliminate it, or you will have to move on because it will always keep you back. And finally, be confident. Don't be sidetracked in the corporate world, because you always have to remember, why are you there? What is your role? What is your position? What is your value to the company? And once you stick to that value proposition, you will go very well and very far. And that's the conclusion. And I'd like to thank you for viewing.